Hi guys, and welcome to my video where I'm going to give you some synopsises for a list of ebooks that I got for free in the month of February. I have already filmed one of these. So this is part 2, and there's going to be at least maybe 5 parts. So I saw, like I said on the first one, I saw an ad on Instagram where you could sign up to be notified of free Kindle books on Amazon. I signed up for that. So out of all the ones I'll be talking about, 4 of these ebooks I won from Goodreads. 1 I got either from Kindle Unlimited or I got free from having enough points so that it ended up being free. So that one I'll tell you what it is. I don't know which ones I got from Kindle versus the ones from Amazon. So let's just go ahead and delve into it. Otherwise this video is going to be super long, and I imagine I am going to have to charge my camera and then finish it up a little later in the day. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first book, and these are in no particular order, I am going to be looking off to the side like in the other one. I'm finding this is a heck of a lot easier to have the tabs up on the window on my computer than trying to pull it up on my phone, wait for it to load, and then read it, and then move on to the next book. It just eliminates a lot of extra time. So we're at my work desk at home, and I will film these ones definitely here. So this first one is called Soul for Dinner. It's actually with a question mark, so it's Soul for Dinner. This was written by E.D. Robson. This has 24 ratings with an average of 3.71. This is a supernatural fantasy. There is no... I thought there was... No, there is not. Alright, let me pull up... I'm going to switch to Amazon on my computer. Soul for Dinner. Here we go. Okay, so there's no synopsis for this on Goodreads. So, okay, so this book is book number 1 in the Soul Eater Witches series, again by E.D. Robson. This looks like has an average of 4-star ratings on Amazon with 62 ratings. And the synopsis is fairly short. This one says, a fantasy adventure with a smattering of humor and a hint of romance. Edgar, a shy student, is lured to apply for a room in a house owned by Millie, inept novice witch, heir to the Soul Eater Coven and a princess of Hell. The trap goes wrong, resulting in the young couple having to visit Hell in an attempt to rectify matters. So we're going to have a visit to Hell, and it looks like a love story. So yeah, we'll just go from there. Moving on, we have City of Ruin. This was written by Lindsey Pogue. I know I'm saying that wrong. I don't know how to say that. This is book 1 in the Ruined Lands series. This has 65 ratings on Goodreads with an average of 4.27, and this is a fantasy. This synopsis reads, oh, there is a note here saying the Forgotten Lands world novels, so I'm guessing that's what this is. It says Ruined Lands, so it's probably also Forgotten Lands, but it does say that in this particular series they are all considered standalones, so you can read them in any order. That is the note on Goodreads. So the synopsis, and that's really good to know. I wish more series would do that if that is the case. The synopsis reads, the collector is coming. Centuries ago, the skies turned black. For 300 years, Londoners survived the dank underground tunnels of the city until a stranger from a faraway land offered to save them, though it wasn't without cost, and he has come to collect. Travel beyond the City of Ruin through the secret passageways and haunted woods to a land shrouded in secrets, in this atmospheric retelling of Jane Eyre and Beauty and the Beast. And then it's just like you can read this in any series. So that's all that one says. Excellent. Okay, now this next one is called Mind Machines. This used to be called human plus plus, or at least it's the addition, like the mathematical addition symbols after the word human, and it's on there twice. The series is human plus plus, and I'm probably saying that wrong, but the title of book number 1 used to be the same. This was, the author on the cover that I'm seeing is Dima Zales, but it does list an alternate author on Goodreads, or a second author listed as Anna Zaries, I'm guessing. So this one has a 744 ratings with an average of 3.88, and I may not always say how many ratings and the average ratings. I will try to, but I may forget at some point, so apologies if I do forget. But I'm trying to close out of the windows as I finish the synopsis readings, so I won't be able to go back and get it. So this is a science fiction thriller. It also says it's a cyberpunk and romance. So if you like cyberpunk, maybe you'll like this one. And let's see. So the synopsis on this one says, with billions in the bank and my own venture capital firm, I'm living the American dream. Computer, stop. I forgot I had that on. My only problem? A car accident that leaves my mother with memory problems. Brainocytes, a new technology that can transform our brains, could be the answer to all of my problems. But I'm not the only one who sees its potential. Plunged into a criminal underworld darker than anything I could have imagined, my life-saving technology might be the death of me. My name is Mike Cohen, and this is how he became more than human. So, that sounds pretty good. Alright, so this next one is called No Ordinary Star. That is also the name of a series. This is the first book in that series. And the author is MC Frank. This has 430 ratings with an average of 3.8. This is a fantasy science fiction dystopia. It also lists Christmas and romance. And it also has this one listed as a young adult. And I think this is the only one that actually tells me if it's definitely young adult or whatever the age category is. So all these other ones, you'll just have to make your own educated guess, I guess. So a soldier is summoned to the North Pole days before the year changes, told to fix the great clock for a celebration. He has no idea what to do. A girl, hunted for the crime of being born, almost dies out on the ice. She is rescued by the last polar bear left alive. A library waits for them both. A library built over a span of 100 years, forgotten in the basement of an ice shack. The world hasn't known hunger or sickness in hundreds of years. It has also forgotten love and beauty. The year is 2525, so this can be futuristic. And it says that this is inspired by short stories of Ray Bradbury. So if you like Ray Bradbury, maybe you will like this particular book. All right, moving on. We have A Light in the Window. This was written by Marion Kummerow, I'm guessing. I'll find out how to say these when I read them. I'll try to look them up, especially if I can get the audiobook for a lot of these. So this is the first book in Marguerite's journey. And this is a World War II historical fiction. Oh, this one does say it's adult. So, hey, bonus. Okay. So the synopsis for A Light in the Window. Oh, this one has 4,969 ratings with an average of 4.18. Figured if I didn't say that now, I would forget. So, there you go. Berlin, 1941. Marguerite Rosenbaum is working as a housemaid for a senior Nazi officer when his house is bombed, leaving her the only survivor. But when she's mistaken for his daughter in the aftermath of the blast, Marguerite knows she can make a bid for freedom. Issued with temporary papers and with the freedom of not being seen as Jewish, a few hours are all she needs to escape to relative safety. That is, until her former employer's son, SS officer Wilhelm Huber, tracks her down. But strangely, he doesn't reveal her true identity right away. Instead, he insists she comes and lives with him in Paris, and seems determined to keep her hidden. His only proviso, however you say it, His only condition is what I'm going to say. His only condition, she must continue to pretend to be his sister, because whoever would suspect a Nazi girl of secretly being a Jew? His plan seems impossible, and Marguerite is terrified they might be found out, not to mention worried about what Wilhelm might want in return. But as the Nazis start rounding up Jews in Paris and the resistance steps to its activities, putting everyone who opposes the regime in peril, she realizes staying hidden in plain sight may be her only chance of survival. Can Marguerite trust a Nazi officer with the only thing she has left, though? Her safety, her life, even her heart. So that sounds like that'll have a bit of a conflicting romance or something like that. Hopefully he's not. I'm hoping the guy is one of those people that I've heard that he did not believe in it, but I don't know, it's like not a true Nazi, I guess, that it's like he tried to act a certain way so that his life and his family wouldn't be in jeopardy to try and save things, but yet he was secretly part of the resistance. So I'm hoping he is part of the resistance, but we'll see when I read it. Next up, we have A Fallen Star by A.M. Kusi, I don't know. This is book number 1 in the Shattered Cove series. This has 291 ratings with an average rating of 3.88. And this is a contemporary romance, and it does say that this is dark and interracial. So let's see. This one says, he's tormented by dark addictions. She's fighting for a lifelong dream. Can they rise from the ashes of despair and find happily ever after? Michael Evans is broken. With all his attention focused on dealing with blackmail and a drug dependency, his day-to-day is barely survivable. So when he reflexively steps up to defend his best friend's little sister, he's blindsided when she leans in for a kiss. Remy Stone is then bottling up her emotions, and now that she's finally caught Michael's eye, she's determined to pursue the relationship despite the red flags. But when his violent past lands her in the hospital and reveals her own hidden truth, Remy's resolve falters. Trapped in a vicious cycle of temptation and relapse, Michael knows the only way out is to bare his soul of its twisted secrets. And though Remy wants him with all her heart, she fears his demons will always come between them. Can the embattled couple defeat the monsters that threaten their love? So, drug abuse. I'm hoping there's not abuse between the two, like him slapping her or hitting her or anything like that, but it sounds like there might, unless something else is going on. Next up is Penny Dreadful, written by Mary Hallberg. This has 32 ratings with an average of 4.13. I think this one's going to be a young adult. There are no tags on this one at all, so I don't even know the genre. It looks like it'll be gothic, but I don't know for sure, and that's just based on the cover that I'm seeing on Goodreads. So this one says, 16-year-old Penny Bordeaux didn't believe in ghosts until they started talking to her. Ever since her mother's death 5 years ago, Penny has had a fascination with death, even opting for part-time work at her mother's old funeral home. Between school stress and toxic friends, Penny could use a mother's guidance, but she never believed anyone could return from the dead. Then the dead began speaking to her, and when Penny meets a mysterious boy named Stephen Campbell, she realizes he may provide the answers. He may seek about the gift she suspects she possesses, the gift of necromancy. With her newfound gift, Penny sets out to resurrect her mother and enlists Stephen's help. But her experience is limited and her patience thin, especially when an otherworldly encounter leads her to believe her mother's death wasn't the accident she thought. Now Penny must bring back and avenge her mother without harming Stephen or herself. So this one sounds like it's going to be a YA where she is 16. So we'll see on that one. All right, next up we have The Missing Ones. This is book number 1 in the D.I. Lottie Parker series, written by Patricia Gibney. This one has a lot of ratings. This one has 29,822 ratings with an average rating of 4.05. So a lot of people like this book. This is a mystery thriller, and the synopsis is, the hole they dug was not deep. A white flour bag encased the little body. 3 small faces watched from the window, eyes black with terror. The child in the middle spoke without turning his head. I wonder which one of us will be next. When a woman's body is discovered in a cathedral and hours later a young man is found hanging from a tree outside his home, Detective Lottie Parker is called in to lead the investigation. Both bodies have the same distinctive tattoo, clumsily inscribed on their legs. It's clear the pair are connected, but how? The trail leads Lottie to St. Angela's, a former children's home with a dark connection to her own family history. Suddenly the case just got personal. As Lottie begins to link the current victims to unsolved murders decades old, 2 teenage boys go missing. She must close in on the killer before they strike again, but in doing so, is she putting her own child in terrifying danger? Lottie is about to come face to face with a twisted soul who has a very warped idea of justice. So, there's that one. Alright, next up is a romance. This has 2 ratings and it equals out to be an average of 4 stars. This was written by Kristy K. James, and the name of the book is A Prince on the Run. The name in the series is the Castorloria Royals trilogy. So, yeah. Let's see, the synopsis. Okay. Someone wants him dead. She just wants a vacation. Cameron Rafferty is keeping secrets, dangerous secrets that could endanger the lives of everyone around him. His plan was simple: keep a low profile until the would-be killer was found. And things were going smoothly until a small complication changed everything. Soon he finds himself becoming more involved with the family next door and wishing for things he shouldn't, things that will put their lives in jeopardy too. Spending summers at the chalet was a tradition for author Laura Keene and her young son, filled with memories of the husband she lost to war. She looked forward to days spent reminiscing, playing, and plotting another novel. She didn't expect this year to be any different, but that was before their handsome neighbor came to her rescue like a knight in shining armor. Will that armor be tarnished when she discovers who he is and why he is hiding out in northern Michigan? So, romance. It does say this also has mystery in it, so a romantic mystery or romantic suspense. Something like that. Next up is Dead Before Dinner. This is a cozy mystery. For those of you who don't know the difference between a cozy mystery and a mystery, cozy mysteries are going to be very clean. You're not going to have graphic violence. You're not going to have graphic bloodshed or body dismemberment or things like that. You also will not have explicit sex scenes, and the swearing is kept to a minimum. It doesn't have the F-bomb or anything like that. It might say shit or damn, but that's pretty much about it. But even then, that's very minimal, if it even has that in there. I think I had one that had that in there, like damn in there twice or something, and that's the only one. So, Dead Before Dinner is the name of the book, and this is the first in a Maddie Swallows mystery series. This was written by Kat Bellemore. This has 341 ratings with an average of 4.2. And this is, like I said, a cozy mystery. And this one says, green chili has never been more dangerous. Maddie Swallows has always intended to be a psychologist, but becoming a wife, mother, and tenured professor, that was more than she'd ever dreamed. Until it all implodes and she finds herself without a job, divorced, and a single mom to 2 teenagers. Despite needing a therapist of her own, Maddie returns to her new Mexican hometown to open her own therapy office. Except she'd forgotten how difficult it had been growing up in a small town, and returning as a 40-year-old woman doesn't make it any easier. When Maddie is invited to a New Year's Eve dinner party, she's reluctant to go, but determines it would be better than staying home. She can't hide from town gossip forever. Until a member of the town council winds up dead before they've even had appetizers, and everyone at the party is suspect. So, yep. Standard cozy mysteries type synopsis. We'll find out, she'll more than likely, well, at least in all the ones I've read, the main character always inserts themselves into the investigation. All right, up next we have This Is a Setup, The Exploding Art of Los Angeles. This was written by Pepperidge. This has 6 ratings with an average of 4.83. This one, let's see, it says This is the story of an artist finding meaning, mischief, and money on his route to becoming a contemporary master in LA. As he constantly attempts to one-up himself with literally explosive artwork, his world is dangerously turned upside down while he unknowingly plays into the hands of a sinister, deadly scheme. So I don't know where it says it's the exploding art of Los Angeles. I don't know if this is going to be nonfiction or if this is fiction. I don't know. I'll find out when I eventually get to this one. So I'm not positive on that. If you know, if you've read this, definitely let me know in the comments. Okay, this next one's a little confusing to me. I've read the synopsis like 2 or 3 times and I still can't fully... It's like I think I've got a better grasp on it, but I still get confused by it. This only has 4 ratings for an average of 2.75, so it's not the greatest, but again, it's only 4 ratings. The title is The Lost Gospel of Peace. This was written by Timothy, and that's the only name on there. It's just Timothy. So it says this is historical fiction. So okay, so I'm just going to jump in because this is, I don't know how to describe this. It says the present work is an adaptation of Edmund Bordeaux Selensky's Book 1 of the Essence Gospel of Peace, first published in 1928. This is not a new translation of the former volume. Instead, the present work could be best described as a variation on a theme. In essence, the former volume served as a rough draft of sorts from which a more expansive and esoteric narrative was crafted. And then it says the present work utilizes the tetragrammation, the YHWH, and then it has that in Hebrew. It says the 4-letter Hebrew name of the creator, as well as Hebrew names and phrases throughout its pages. Additionally, the present work also includes cultivation exercise, which were only generally hinted at in the former volume. This is only supposedly 111 pages, so it's not like it's going to be difficult as far as length to get through. Content matter might be a little different. If it's anything like I just read there, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get through, for me anyway. Next up we have Perils in Provence. This is book 1 in the World Traveler Cozy Mystery Series. This was written by Carolyn L. Dean. It has 458 ratings with an average star rating of 4.2. And this one looks like takes place in France. It does say this is a novella. This is only, the Kindle is only 83 pages, so this is a very short cozy mystery. It says, it's not easy to go from peach pies to Provence. A dangerous past life, a new mysterious boss, an old chateau with some very suspicious characters. Jennifer was happy working as a baker at the Ravenwood Inn, but when fate comes calling in the form of Gable Landon, she's ready to jump at the new career he offers. Soon, she's globe-trotting from Oregon to Burgess, then to Provence, to assess a rundown property her boss might want to buy. The charm of southern France and its food and landscape is almost intoxicating, as it doesn't hurt that she's made a new friend, a French bulldog named Orly. What Jennifer hadn't expected, though, was stone-cold murder. So, and that's all that one says. And it just, that one, this synopsis also has the line saying this is has clean language and all of that. That's the only other description on there. Next up is Operation Zigzag, Eve's War. This was written by Hannah Howe. It has 243 ratings with an average of 4.09. And this is a historical fiction. So this one says it's a series of 12 novellas. And here's my issue with this one, is they've pulled an excerpt from the book instead of just summarizing it into a generalized synopsis. They've just pulled an excerpt straight from the book. So I don't know if this is the middle of the book or the beginning. So I'm not going to read the whole thing because I don't want to spoil anything where it's so short. It does say this is Marseille, December 1942. And then here is the synopsis. It says, "We're in a fix," Vincent said. "The Gestapo have captured a British agent, codenamed Zigzag. They picked him up through his false identity papers. Only the thing is, they haven't discovered his true identity yet. But they will. And he will talk. They all do in the end. And when he talks, he will reveal secrets that will destroy the local resistance networks, including our own. But there's a way out through a guard. He's open to bribes. We'd like you to meet the guard, bribe him, spring Zigzag from the Gestapo prison, then escort him over the mountain pass into Spain. I'm stopping there because it's just, they continue talking, going back and forth, and I don't want to spoil anything else in that. So that's all I'm going to read from that, and you can kind of summarize yourself what that's probably going to be about. Next up is Windstorm of Bliss. Okay, I have to lean in because the print that for what I'm going to tell you is on the cover, and it's fairly small. It says this is a paranormal fantasy romance, and this is book 1 in, I think it says Elementals Magic series. So it's series, it's book 1. There's 19 ratings and it has an average of 3.32. This is by Nikki Riker. And this one says, she's more powerful than ever, but can she overcome her own unstoppable desires? Everything hinges on Alma's 23rd birthday, when her powerful elemental magic will come into full bloom. But it also puts her in immense danger, and Alma is soon shocked to discover that she's been set up for an arranged marriage with 2 brothers who have volunteered to protect her from shadowy enemies. Brothers Finn and Dylan are drop-dead gorgeous, and they ignite feelings inside Alma that she's not ready to handle. But she doesn't need a babysitter, no matter how wild their bodies make her feel. Besides, she's not in any danger she can't handle, is she? And when she discovers a 3rd charming elemental who sets her heart and her hormones ablaze, Alma becomes determined to have her cake and eat it too, even if her sexy friend and runaway libido risk throwing her headlong into disaster. Now this one does say there is no shortage of scintillating steam. So I imagine this is going to be quite explicit in the sex department, but we shall see. I don't know how I feel about that. All right, so at least it was free, right? Okay, this next one is a novella. This is book number 0.5. It's only 55 pages according to Goodreads. And the book is called Surviving Chaos. This is book 0.5 in the End of Days series, written by Sam J. Fiers. There's 271 ratings with an average of 4.03. This one says, when ordinary life transforms into a fight for survival, can a young woman keep the chaos from pulling her under? Go-getting 26-year-old investigative journalist Cassandra Drews just wants her miserable day to end, and desperate to put her breakup behind her. She agrees to a last face-to-face to return belongings to her ex. But when they're nearly killed by an out-of-control car, she's horrified when the nightmare of her relationship takes a back seat to an eruption of violence. In the blink of an eye, an EMP attack wipes out the nation's power and the world grinds to a stop. Surrounded by chaos, Cass is torn between tending to the injured or escaping her seething ex. It doesn't take long before panic and violence erupt on the streets of Portland. Out of options, Cass has no choice but to race home, hoping to outrun a looming ice storm. Can she make it to safety before experiencing the wrath of the bitter winter storm? Or will she find herself the victim of a far more than the elements in a town thrust into bedlam? And this is a science fiction dystopia, also post-apocalyptic, and it does say it's young adult. But isn't she 26? So maybe it's more new adult? I don't know. I guess I'll find out when I eventually read that one as well, won't I? Next up is The Bequest by B.E. Baker. This is the first book in the Birch Creek Ranch series. This has 520 ratings and an average of 4.45. This is a contemporary romance, and it also lists this as a Western. It says 2 widows, 6 kiddos, and a will that leaves them a massive cattle ranch, but only if they work it for a year. Abigail and Amanda may have married brothers, but they have almost nothing else in common, and really they never did get along very well. After their husbands both pass away within a year of one another, they have no reason to interact. Their connection drops to an awkward phone call on birthdays and an exchange of holiday cards, until an eccentric uncle of their husbands leaves a massive cattle ranch to the women's minor children. if they work the ranch themselves. A ranch that's located near a small town on the Wasatch Front that isn't too keen on outsiders. They're both going to turn the Bequest down, clearly. It's not like either of them could properly raise their kids or find love again in a backwater province like Birch Creek. But when things at home change dramatically for both moms, they decide to give it a try just for the summer. What could possibly go wrong in a mere 3 months? Or more importantly, what might go right? So that sounds pretty good. I live along the Wasatch Front. I am in Utah. I don't know, or I'm not remembering right off the top of my head where all the Wasatch Front ranges. So it'll be interesting to see where exactly, if it mentions this, if it mentions the state or anything else. So yeah, that'll be interesting. All right, next up is Loving the Wrong Man. Now this one was listed as Black literature in the email. Come to find out it's erotica, so not sure how I feel about this one. This is the first in the series, so Loving the Wrong Man is the name of the book. That is also the name of the series. This was written by Mia Black. It's only 97 pages, so, you know, I'm kind of looking at that going, how kind of bad can it get as far as the sex goes? I guess I'll find out. After dealing with a toxic relationship, the last thing Jasmine wants to do is jump into another one. Yet one unexpected encounter with a sexy stranger causes her to rethink that decision. Will this mysterious man be the one who will save her from her past or make her life more complicated than it already is? And that's all you get, which is perfect length of a synopsis for a novella, in my opinion. All right, next up we have Seven Sins. This was written by Miguel Estrada. This has 823 ratings with an average of 4.02. The cover that I'm seeing is kind of creepy. This is a horror mystery thriller. So I've got a couple of tags there. Don't know what age category. This one says, if we claim to be without sin, we deceive ourselves and the truth is not in us. Several individuals connected through a series of unfortunate events find themselves as participants in a twisted game of trials set up by a hacker who has chosen them based on their cardinal sins. This group of misfits will do anything in their power to survive and return any semblance of normality to their lives, even if it means destroying each other. That sounds pretty good. That actually sounds really good. So, all right, next up, this is the one that I had mentioned where it is book number 1.5. It's a novella between a duology. This is the Born series written by Jeff Vandermeer. This is science fiction. It's dystopia, post-apocalyptic. It's also listed as weird fiction. And yes, it is. There's a lot of talk in the first one. We're following Rachel. She lives with Wick. They live on like some cliffs, like balcony cliffs type things. And basically there's this company that put a lot of stuff into the world that actually damaged and destroyed a lot of the world. And it killed a lot of people, and it put a lot of people out of their homes and jobs. So these people have become scavengers, and they just have to try to survive day to day. Some of the stuff that's been put out in the world has affected the animals as far as like their size, their desire for blood. Some of them get weird abilities, like there's a fox that can become invisible. There's bio stuff that takes on its own life form of itself. There's a bear that becomes ginormous, like a giant bear. I'm not talking like grizzly bear. I'm talking like the size of a huge building type of a bear. And it can fly. So the bear tries to attack the company and kill someone known as the magician. And the magician is part of the company that put all this crap into the world. But thinks that it could still be fixed and made better and all that. So you're just following along with all of that. Definitely gives you stuff to think about. And that's pretty much all I can say, because that's all I can gather from that. Next up, we have A Happy Ghost. This has a average of 5-star rating, but there's only one rating for this book. So A Happy Ghost was written by Carl Christian Flores. And this one says, in Los Angeles, California, a receptionist named Andre has been shattered by the hotel industry and its customers. His reality of darkness and luxury changes after he meets a guest who tells him to live like a comet, whatever the heck that means. This is a novel about adulthood, fear, and a dreary 25-year-old who loathes his boredom and fiercely sets out to take every risk presented to him. Andre considers what is the most optimal way to live life. His day-long odyssey follows him navigating through Westwood and its people, theater, cafes, university sidewalks, and gardens. So it sounds like this is just going to take place over the course of one day. I guess I'll find out if I read that correctly and understood it correctly. Next up is The Weight of Salt. This was written by Sandra Montanino. This has 126 ratings with an average of 4.28. I do like the cover that I'm seeing. And this is a historical fiction romance. It says, in 1906, Florida, the cigar capital of the world, suffragettes march for a vote. The mafia terrorizes neighborhoods, and girls are expected to marry whom their strict Sicilian fathers choose. So it sounds like we're going to have a lot of Italian heritage in this. Angelina Perello, dutiful, bright, and ambitious, finds herself abruptly torn from her mother and left to abide by her well-meaning Italian father's rigid beliefs. When she falls in love with a suitor who doesn't meet the ideal her father has set, she finds herself promised in an arranged marriage to a man she detests. Forced to choose between her father and following her heart, Angelina makes a daring move to take destiny into her own hands. But such a choice comes with devastating consequences that threaten to shatter her world. So, all I hope is that she finds happiness, and obviously there's going to be struggles along the way. That's just going to be standard in a book. They've got to go through trials. All right, next up we have a thriller. This is Dark Cure, and this was written by Cameron K. Moore. It has 105 ratings with an average of 4.3. And thriller is the only tag on here. This one says, deep in the Amazon rainforest, one man unlocks the ultimate Pandora's box. When Dr. Carl Shepard discovers a revolutionary drug that can cure his daughter's rare disease, he unlocks the ultimate version of Pandora's box. Soon, he is hunted through the Amazon rainforest by ruthless mercenaries desperate to steal his secret. His every step is tracked by the brutal Jacques Benoit, however you say that, a cognitively enhanced commando. Shepard's survival and the antidote for his daughter hinge on his experience as a former U.S. Ranger. Shepard realizes that he can only be certain of two things. He holds the key to the future of Earth, and the chances of saving his daughter are disappearing by the minute. So, that sounds pretty good. Parents will go to an extreme to protect their children sometimes, and so we'll see how extreme he goes. Next up is a cozy mystery called Condos and Corpses. This is the first in the Sapphire Beach series, written by Angela K. Ryan. It has 548 ratings with an average of 4.3. This one says, Connie can think of no other, here we go. I skipped a line, I apologize. A condo on the Florida Gulf Coast, a humanitarian worker with a passion for jewelry making, a murder next door. Connie can think of no other option but to sell the beachfront condo she recently inherited from her beloved aunt. But a murder in the apartment next door stalls her plans. As she tries to prove her friend and neighbor's innocence, she contemplates keeping the condo and opening a jewelry shop in Sapphire Beach, where tourists abound, to showcase her homemade creations. But starting a business would mean walking away from an 11-year career in humanitarian work, and her overseas contacts have become like family over the years. Will she find a way to combine her love for jewelry making with her passion for humanitarian work and solve the murder in the process? So, I look forward to that one. I do enjoy good cozy mysteries. Next up, we have a mystery thriller. This is The Forgotten Widow, and this is book number 1 in the Widow Taker series, written by Kennedy Lane. There's 119 ratings with an average of 4.24. It says they call him the Widow Taker. Yeah, okay. When the FBI is called in to join the investigation of 3 murdered women, Special Agent Dean Malone wasn't expecting the case to hit so close to home. His mother was a widow, just like the women who were left to die in dark pools of their own blood. He does his best to remain impartial with each and every senseless killing, but that all changes when he discovers exactly how the widow taker is choosing his victims. Kenna Burke is finally ready to join the land of the living after the death of her husband almost 3 years ago. With the simple ring of her doorbell, an obscene evil is now threatening to take her away her hopes of having a new life. Special Agent Dean Malone gives Kenna his word that he will do whatever it takes to keep her safe, and she must now decide if she should place her trust in a shining light that could shatter the veil of darkness. So this one sounds like it's going to be like a dual POV. I do enjoy that. I do like that when there's multiple perspectives. Next up, I have to read the synopsis off of Amazon. And when I did look this up on Goodreads, it did not give me all the information. And this book is called The Unfinished Line. This was written by Z. David. This looks like it's a brand new series, and this is what it did not tell me. It looked like it's a standalone, but according to Amazon, it's part of the Claire Knox mystery, and so it's a brand new series. It's book 1. So there's already additional information there. This one says, when Claire Knox wakes up one day with no memory, her only mission is to remember who she was. Her best ally in this effort is her husband Luke, but when she sees discrepancies between what he says and what he does, she suspects he's keeping something from her. When her therapist uses gestures and gives her nonverbal clues as if someone were watching, Claire feels unsafe. When she meets a stranger who seems to know more about her past than she does, she questions everything. So, sounds like she's got secrets to uncover. We'll find out if he really is her husband, type of a thing, and go from there. Next up, we have Gold Feeder. This is the millionaire's son, and it says that this is based on true stories. This was written by Ivan Komita. This little information I'm giving you is on Amazon. It's not on Goodreads. It says this is inspired by true events. It introduces you to the scion of one of the richest people in Eastern Europe, and immerses you in the lives of wealthy and well-known, the world of fashion and crime, revealing the hidden truth of the situation in the countries beyond the Iron Curtain. A story of the transition in a former communist republic through the prism of human destiny. And let's see, it says the main character falls victim of kidnappers. Shortly after he's freed, he learns the shocking truth about the woman he loves. The unexpected turns in his life trigger his rebellion against the dominating figure of his father, and he launches battle for his independence. So I'm wondering if this is going to be one whole story where all these true stories it's based on are combined into one story, or if these are going to be individual stories, all by the same author. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. 5 more books, and then this haul is done. So next up we have Dark Sky. This was written by Joel Canfield. This is book number 1 in the Misadventures of Max Bauman. This has 869 ratings with an average of 3.97. So I'm back on Goodreads here. This is a thriller mystery. It also has the humor tag. Now, this one says, Max Bowman, a barely getting by investigator thrown on the trash heap by the CIA years ago, suddenly he's given a mission way above his pay grade to uncover the truth about First Lieutenant Robert Davidson, the son of an American military legend and a war hero who died in combat during the Afghanistan conflict. Or did he? To find the answer, Max must take a road trip to the heart of America's darkness as well as his own. Along the way, he encounters an exploding home, a murderous clone of a classic TV hero, a sexy heiress, and a misguided teenager desperate for a father figure. And oh yeah, there's also the paramilitary organization that's just waiting for the right moment to kill him. So, on the run to save his life and answer a question, solve a mystery. All right, next up is When Tomorrow Starts Without Me. This is book number 1 in the Wildflower Romance series. 367 ratings with an average of 4.15. This one says it's new adult, and it also has a music tag. And we also know that this is a romance. It says, he's on the road to fame. She's at the end of the line. A chance meeting will change everything. Kenna Mitchell grew up despised and mistreated by those who should have loved and protected her. Now homeless and alone, with pain too heavy to bear, she's ready to end it all. Okay, so she's suicidal, so major trigger warning there. Says, enter Rogan Scott, an up-and-coming rock star with one focus, his band. Out in the woods looking for a song inspiration, he comes across a beautiful girl seconds from ending her life. And so obviously he's going to protect her and try to save her life, and maybe there's a romance there, but we're going to find out as the story goes along if she starts to feel better about things or if she still is suicidal. So massive trigger there. Massive, massive warning there. Next up is an urban fantasy titled Dead Set. This is the first book in the Tales of Weird Florida series, written by Martin Shannon. There's 62 ratings with an average of 4.34. And this one says, for Eugene Law, one of the West Florida's few active magicians, the Sunshine State is a great place to raise a family. It's got pleasant winters and plenty of opportunity. That is, until an army of the damned rise up to ruin his little slice of heaven. So it's a zombie, post-apocalyptic it sounds like, or dystopia, I don't know, but zombie. It isn't long before he finds himself neck deep in the restless dead, hell fleas, minor demons, and a daughter that's a magnet for the dearly departed. So that sounds pretty good. I am excited for that one. I think that one so far has sounded the most intriguing out of a lot of these, other than the cozy mysteries, because I know I love cozy mysteries, but that one has sounded really good. All right, we are on the final two. This one is Cloudy with a Chance of Witchcraft, written by Mandy M. Roth. This is the first in the Grim Cove series, and there's 4,451 ratings with a 4.33 average rating, so this has a higher rating. This is a paranormal romance. It also says it has shapeshifters and is an urban fantasy. It says, on the eve of my 40th birthday, fate has given me a second chance at the happiness I once knew in the old southern tower of Grim Cove, but only if I can come to terms with some rather eye-opening revelations. Supernaturals are a real thing. I'm a witch. My high school sweetheart, who happens to be the chief of police in Grim Cove, is my fated mate and a wolf shifter. Ghosts exist and can be very nosy and meddlesome. Someone is murdering witches left and right. And last but not least, my ex-husband, barely legal arm candy, is taking fatal attraction to new levels of hell. So, it says she's no shrieking Violet. She's no shrieking Violet. With the help of her best friend, she's going to live her life on her terms, come hell or high water or magical mishaps. So that sounds like that's going to be pretty comedic. We'll see if I understand the jokes. Those tend to fly right over my head, but we shall see. Next up is an anthology. This is a collection of short stories. The title of the book is called Take Us to a Better Place. Each short story looks like was written by a different author. I don't know if any of these authors are in the book more than once. I don't recognize any of the names. You have Madeline Ashby, Hannah Lilith Asadi, Calvin Baker, Frank Bill, Yoonha Lee, Karen Lord, Mike McClelland, Aki Obijus, David Alexander Robertson, and Martha Wells. It says it's science fiction. Okay, let's see. All right, Takes to a Better Place is a collection of powerful, perceptive, and seamlessly crafted fiction that tells multiple truths about the realities of our health and the world in which we live. Let's see. It's a call to action offering all of us the opportunity to rise to the occasion of contributing in ways we can to a world where a healthier life is possible for all. And then it just kind of goes into, these are the various authors, and this is the type of book it is. So it definitely is an anthology of short stories and things like that. So that is it for this book haul. Let me know if you've read anything by these authors or any of these books. Talk to me in the comment section below. I will list these titles and the authors in the description box. So if you want to try to get a little bit more information, you are more than welcome to. And I'll have that down there for you to peruse if you would like. So again, that's it for this video. Talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I'll talk to you later.